Good evening, friends. It's a real pleasure to be here for various reasons. One, because I am with Maya. Two, because I am meeting Pema for the first time. And three, I have a family here which is known to us for several years, and a new family from the Sikkim Alpine University. So good to celebrate this International Day, or observe this International Human Rights Day from South India, and only the COVID pandemic could have taught us that we can still communicate from down south to all of you there in Sikkim. So my greetings to all of you. I cannot do what Maya has done. Maya is Maya, and Maya can say all this. I will be a little more on the ground and try to substantiate myself with what I have to say, because we really need to ensure that all of you participate at the end in some questioning of Maya and me as well. First, I thought we will try to understand that human rights is not about law. Human rights is not about only the Protection of Human Rights Act. Human rights is not only about knowing that it involves the right to life, equality, liberty and dignity. Human rights is about a passion within, which Maya referred to rightly, to reach out to those who are violated, and to reach out in a manner where they feel your warmth, they are able to trust you, and that you are able to render them closer to the justice that they are seeking for. And I am so happy to note that in a Sikkim that we don't know, I know that there is a State Human Rights Commission. I know that there is a State Information Commission. I know that there is a State Commission for Protection of Child Rights. There is a State Commission for Women. And there is a State Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities. Hats off to you for the 5 different institutions. 2 of them have websites. 3 of them do not have websites. And because they don't have websites, we know that they exist. So you are geographically in a place where you have a number of institutions, including the State Human Rights Institution, the State Human Rights Commission, to be able to deliver redress when their violations are there. But on this day of the International Human Rights Day, it's not important to only talk about the UN Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All this is past in history. But to understand that those families who are hurt, those families who are killed, those families which are tortured, those women who are beaten, those children who are sexually harassed, those who are suffering from caste violations across the country, all of them need your hand and my hand to be able to reach out to them. And when I say hand, I literally mean the hand. We need to touch them, we need to hold them, and they need to feel your warmth and my warmth. They are not interested in that little law. They are not interested in the so-called lordship who sits there on the pedestal trying to deliver something to them. They are more interested in you and I actively standing in support of them. And that is the significance of this day. And that is the significance of every day for some of us. Every day. The last 4 days, 5 days have been horrible days for me. Horrible days. We have had in 2015, 20 people from Tamil Nadu, from the tribal communities who were forcibly taken into the forests of the Seshachalam forest near Chittoor, near Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh. And the 20 of them thereafter, after being brutally tortured, were shot dead. But today, we are still before the High Court of Amravati near Vijayawada, waiting for justice from 2015 to 2021. Last month, you had another batch of 45 of them who were lured to get there, and this time the state of Andhra is much more clever to ensure that we don't book them all together. We will handle them as 5 or 6 different batches, and people had to go spend 6 days into the wilderness trying to put all those bits of news together to be able to see. And at the end of the week, after 5 or 6 days, the people started speaking about what actually had taken place. So for us, human rights is therefore to come closer and closer to the people who are affected and work for their interest to see that we are able to deliver justice or bring justice closer to their doorstep. We don't succeed at all. We have more failures than success. I was speaking somewhere else where I said, I don't have a graduation in human rights. I don't have a post-graduation in human rights, and therefore I don't have even an MPhil or doctorate in human rights. But what I have and others don't have is that I have had the privilege of several families, women and men, young and old, who have allowed us to interfere in their lives when they were in difficult situations and make mistakes, very often make mistakes, then bring justice to them. And that is where we learnt our human rights. And that is human rights to us. Today is a very special day for me because the United Nations every year has a theme which is called the theme of the International Human Rights Day. And this is supposed to run over the entire year. And this year, the theme that they have selected is the theme of equality. And so before we enter into their theme, let us be proud of our constitution, which has an understanding of equality that is being developed even today, but which is very powerful. We don't believe in our constitution only in the formal equality that we all think is that likes be treated alike. Unequals should be treated unequally. Differentially is what our constitution in Article 14 tells us. But from this formal equality of understanding of equality, our constitution and the interpretation of the constitution thereafter has moved forward into what we call an understanding of the substantive equality process. And that substantive equality is what the poorest of the poor, those who are excluded in society, are able to benefit from. There's a vulgar word that is thrown around, which is called reservation. And anybody who speaks about it is seen with scant respect. But it's how a sacred word for the Constitution, and we will be coming to this. It is a part of the way of understanding what substantive equality is. And substantive equality in our Constitution has 4 different elements. One is to ensure that there is a total removal of disadvantages that have prevented people from enjoying equality. There are lots of disadvantages that people in different parts of the country, and many of you here may not be in that kind of a situation where you yourself suffer from disadvantage. The very fact that you are in a private university more indicates that you are people who may not be in that kind of a situation. But remember, in your hometowns, in your rural areas, if you are from such areas across the country, that people with disadvantages, our understanding of substantive equality is to ensure that those disadvantages are totally removed and it is addressed. And we are all persons which hold stigma. We hold certain methods of talking about certain categories of people like stereotypes, and we have prejudice. And this substantive equality that our Constitution is pushing forth is to remove, to address that stigma, that stereotype and those prejudices, because that is what will bring us closer to equality. It's a Herculean task. And the third is to involve us in participation. So equality is to lead to participation. Imagine equality leading to participation in a small village where the caste system is strong. Still, the objective of substantive equality is to bring us closer to encourage participation of people. And the last, and this participation is in public life. This participation is in social life. Imagine people communicating and participating in social life. Very, very easy to say, but very practically, when you go down to the smallest unit in our villages or hamlets, you have problems there. And the last substantive equality understanding is to learn to accommodate differences. And that is becoming more difficult these days, to be able to accommodate differences. But that is what our constitutional interpretation is moving us specifically to. Now this Article 14 equality is also developed further through Article 15, which is termed on non-discrimination. We do not discriminate all persons on the basis of various forms that is there in terms of race, caste, religion, place of birth, etc. But non-discrimination is the other side of equality. And it is very easy to talk about non-discrimination. Very difficult to make sure that I actually don't discriminate. It's a very, very strong personal choice. And this is what today's theme is on equality, that it is not only equality, but it is non-discrimination, and both of them put together are part and parcel of the principles of human rights that Maya was talking about some time ago. Now, after 15 comes the whole question of Article 16, which is equally important, which talks about, and that is what is new in our Constitution, giving equal opportunity to those who never had opportunities. And that act, that intention of offering equal opportunity to a variety of persons is what we call in our Constitution as reservation. That is why that reservation has got such a bad connotation. I was once in a training program, friends, in Kerala. It was actually with the Malayalam Manorama team of journalists, and we had sessions on right to life, on right to equality, freedoms, etc. I had finished on right to freedoms, and I'd taken a break, and another colleague of mine who was a woman lawyer was dealing with equality. And when she finished, she came back very fast and said, "The class is over." I said, "My goodness me, class is over?" They said, "Yes, class is over." So I said, "Okay, fine, then I'll go." I went to do my freedoms, and they said, "Hold on, sir, we have lots of questions." I said, "But what? Questions on what? I have not started." They said, "No, questions on what she finished." I said, "But questions on what she finished, you should have asked her." And India is a caste society, and whether I like it or not, most of the journalists there were upper caste journalism students from Kerala. And their problem was, what the hell is this reservation? How can you call this reservation to be part and parcel of bringing equality in this country? My dear friends, I tried about 45 minutes. I didn't succeed with them. They were so vociferous. I had to take the rescue of my friend Matthews Philip from originally from Kerala, who was also there, and he tried in his own way to explain how generations together we have been treating people unequally. And for all these generations in my own family, my own grandfather, great-grandfather has practiced caste discrimination and treated people unequally. He had the graciousness to say it. I have to now sit back and allow people to enjoy equality. And then they more or less didn't accept, but they tolerated. My dear friends, 6 months later, I had a phone call from a journalist, and she spoke and she asked me about something, and I answered, and I thought it was over. And then she says, "You know who it is?" So I said, "How do I know who it is? You are coming on the phone." She says, "I was the one who tortured you in Thiruvananthapuram in the Manorama program. Sir, if we did not understand what reservation was and positive discrimination was on that day, my entire job as a journalist would have gone waste. Now, all my focus is on people who are excluded in society, and all my stories are about how we include them, and various possibilities that are existing in our constitution not being available to them. So it's a very powerful program of equality that this little book on constitution brings us to. But the constitution is not taught to us in this manner. It is taught to us as a dead document. It is a document that comes out of struggles of people of many years, and that is why all those years of oppression where equality was reserved, equality was not shared with everybody, that has become now through this constitution slowly an implementation of a program has started. And that is what today in the International Day the UN calls us to work on equality and thereby reduce inequality. And that is serious. Reducing inequality in a country where the top 10% of our population enjoy 77% of the total nation's wealth. My dear friends, let this not go as figures. It is 10% of the Indian population holding on to 77% of the national wealth. That is serious. And this is the inequality that the UN mandates us to work against and see that equality is brought. So we have a very, very serious year ahead, and they remind us that there are the two goals that exist, goal 5 and goal 7 of the sustainable development goals, which we have to put into practice. Lots of tasks ahead of us, but this starts with ensuring that each one of you in the Alpine University are able to understand human rights and are able to become practitioners of human rights. These are not jobs that Maya and Henry have to carry out. These are jobs that Revaj, Ashish and others here who are gathered, it's your task. This is what you have to do, and with the more you people start doing things from wherever you are in your campus and make human rights a part and parcel of your own teaching syllabus, Nishant, in your own campus. I think small things are what matter. The big talk about the big things that we all do is not what is important. The small things that start from your Alpine University, where every student knows that human rights is to stand for those whose violations are being broken. Just imagine, so many years ago, 1958, the AFSPA were brought into Nagaland when Nagaland itself was part of Assam. And today we have 16 people who have been killed. And you see what happens. How many people feel Nagaland is a part of this country, and we all have to unitedly say Armed Forces Special Powers Act has to go. We are all saying it, but we never thought we would have a day when the Chief Minister of that particular state would also be saying the same, speaking the same language as us. Very serious. This is not politics. This is about the right of Nagas. This is the right of our peoples, of this country. They belong to this country, and they have every right to the demands they are making, and we have every duty on our part to support their demand. Whether Nagas demanding the withdrawal of AFSPA, or Manipur demanding AFSPA has to go, or any other part saying Armed Forces Special Powers Act has no role to play in a democracy. And that is our human rights voice. And I think a university of your sort, with bright students as you are, should start speaking, should start writing, and it is your voice which matters. And I will be so happy to see that the Alpine University will end up not only with a course on human rights, which will be your course, but on writings on human rights, because what you write, people in governance will start listening to, and that is more important than our own voices. All the best, Nishant. Very good beginning for you all there, but it is very important that you continue it, and we will be always in solidarity with you, trying to do the little we can from behind to make sure that this private university, as you call it on your website, private university, has a private course on human rights so that young people are strengthened. Thank you. All the best.